Very Bad Wizards is a podcast with a philosopher, my dad, and a psychologist, Dave Pizarro, having an informal discussion about issues in science and ethics. Please note that the discussion contains bad words that I'm not allowed to say, and knowing my dad, some very inappropriate jokes.
I don't like hypothetical brain ticklers before bedtime, you know this.
The Great Boss has spoken. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Who are you? Who are you? A very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Good man. They think deep thoughts, and with no more brains than you have. Pay no attention to that man. Anybody can have a brain.
You're a very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Just a very bad wizard.
Welcome to Very Bad Wizards. I'm Tamler Summers from the University of Houston. Dave, we both just witnessed a total solar eclipse. Still think there aren't any aliens or ghosts in the world?
You're right. That doesn't make sense.
I did warn you.
Tamler warned me before the question. Weirdly, I do think that there are no aliens still.
But after, I guess you only saw like the 99% of the eclipse and you didn't see the total eclipse. So that's probably why.
It was like 99.15% coverage. And that's like almost being pregnant, you know? It's like not.
That's edging. That's edging the eclipse.
It was total edging. So it just felt like it was, turning to night. But as I was telling you, it was just cloudy. I didn't see shit. All I did is feel it get dark. But you got the whole, I got the
whole shebang.
And you had like a mystical experience. You got the jizz.
I got yeah, exactly. It was the full on with the diamond ring too at the end. So yeah, no, I went out. I had a friend that her sister knew a guy on a ranch in Llano, Texas. And so I went to Austin, picked up my daughter, and we went out and camped out there because we couldn't sleep in the house, but we could camp on their land. And then we all hung out and watched the eclipse the next day, and it was amazing. It was very cool because, there's a lot of people around you, and you're all just watching it. It's also just the communal aspect of it, and then something that's been built up, but you don't exactly know what it's going to look like. Right. And then when it happens and the light outside, it's all very cool. But you can totally see why people got mystical from witnessing it because it's unlike anything else that I've seen.
Yeah, that's cool, being around people. People start yelling together. Like, imagine what it must have been to not know what the fuck was going on. And then all of a sudden one it
yeah, right,
dark.
Exactly. All of a sudden the sun just starts to kind of disappear very gradually.
I would totally think the world is ending. I'd be like, this is...
Because it does kind of look like that.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing the coincidence that the moon covers the same amount as the sun in our sky? Like, what are the chances? That makes me believe in supernatural. Like that, Jesus totally created that.
Jesus did?
Yeah. He hung the moon right in the perfect spot.
Because, it is exactly far enough from the sun to have the same circumference from our perspective as the sun does.
And not only that, it hasn't always been that way because the moon hasn't always been the same distance on Earth, and it won't always be this way.
Right, it's drifting away, right?
Yeah, on an evolutionary scale, obviously. Which brings us...
Oh, wait, but there was some other exciting thing that happened. You went to South Korea.
Oh, yeah.
You went to Seoul. Anything to report from that?
Yeah, I got in a really long fight in a corridor with a lot of henchmen.
Nice.
Oh, wait, that wasn't me. I jerked off while watching the Korean Tower. No, I went to Seoul. It was a really short trip. It was for a Cornell thing, an Asian Pacific conference of Cornell alumni. And so I was in and out, but it was really cool to go and be in the land. Like, seriously, like, it's kind of weird. It really meant a lot more to me having watched South Korean cinema. So I credit you and the podcast for having made that enjoyable.
Did you smoke weed or possibly burn down a greenhouse or possibly kill a woman?
No. But I fucking get there. I'm at the airport. I clear the passport thing. And, you're walking out with your bags and they have like one more check But most people just walk right by.
Yeah.
They randomly pull some people and go through their bags.
Oh, God.
So they randomly pull me, I'm sure. I
Yeah.
don't know what it's because I'm Hispanic. And they start looking, this woman starts looking through my bag and finds like my prescription medication, which contains some controlled substances.
As it should.
As it should. And she's like, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to bring these in the country. There's a list of forbidden substances. She pulls out a paper and she's like showing me that it's forbidden and that I would have had to clear it in advance. And I was like, no, please. Like, especially like sleeping medication. I was like, I need this. It's 13-hour difference. I was not going to make, I had to give a talk.
What did you do?
Man, I apologized profusely. I said it wasn't my intention. I wouldn't have done that on purpose. I said I didn't know at all because I've traveled, a lot of places.
I've traveled to normal countries where they don't.
and then I just begged. Like I just begged because I had my prescription bottle. And at first she was like, how many nights are you going to be in Seoul? And I was like, 3 nights. And she was like, okay, I can leave you with 3. Like she was going to confiscate all the rest of them. I was like, no, please. That's
Then
like
I
my
don't
whole
get it when I
prescription.
come back. Like, that's what you don't understand.
I don't want to deal with like a pissed off insurance who tells me that I'm like a druggie because I'm asking for more.
Speaking of Park Chan-wook, what I picture is from Lady Vengeance, this woman just taking your head and like guiding it to her vagina. And just making you go to town to keep your temazepam and Adderall or whatever it is that you have.
I would have done it. I would have done it. I wouldn't have said no. I was like I almost got on my knees. Like I almost got on my knees.
You told me this when? Like Sunday, I think. Is that when we talked? Or Monday? Monday. I've already had a nightmare about that happening to me. It's horrible.
So yeah, lesson learned. If you're traveling to South Korea and you have anything that might be on a list of substances, clear that shit first. Like apparently you can fill out some form, and only bring what you need, or just put it in a condom and stick it up your ass like a normal person.
Yeah, exactly. Get a mule.
Oh, and I had melatonin gummies and she was like, is this marijuana? And I was like, oh God, no, it's not.
What is wrong with you? You have the best filmmakers. You have like 3 of the top 10 filmmakers in the world. What are you doing acting like this about some sleeping pills and Adderall and fucking weed?
I should have known from that Dave episode, the Little Dicky show.
Yeah.
Do you remember when they go to South Korea
Yeah.
and like one of them gets arrested for weed? But yeah, an undue influence on the popular culture of the world with K-pop and K-dramas and cinema, all these like fun things, and they get mad if you have some sleeping pills. Like that's crazy.
All right, should we talk about this? So our main segment is a Borges story. A favorite of mine anyway. It's called Death and the Compass, and I strongly urge everybody to read that story before.
It's short.
It's short. Yeah, it's like just like 4 pages. And it's really fun and really interesting. So that's what we're going to talk about in the second segment. But first,
okay, this is a paper published in a recent paper in Archives of Sexual Behavior. Ingo Landwehr, Katrin Munzlock, and Alexander Schmidt. They're in Germany. So here's the idea of this paper. It's just one study, very sort of simple setup. The question that they're asking is how men interpret flirting signals from women. Already a little weird, but okay.
standard Evo psych.
Honestly, they don't even rely that much on evolutionary psychology.
Yeah.
It's just about like weighing of social cues. And so what they say, and I guess what some people have argued is heterosexual men, when you're looking for a sexual partner, they have different kinds of cues that they might use. So one is like what they call a global cue. Global cues are, well, specifically in this, are like things that aren't specifically about you or your interaction with her, right? What makeup she has on, what she's wearing. And then you have specific cues, which they're calling affective, emotional, like facial expression cues.
The first ones are just for everybody. The second one is for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so they were interested in figuring out if men over-rely on global cues, which they think would be an error because they're not specific to you. So they created a task where they show pictures to men. They have some examples in the paper. They show a screen with 2 pictures, one on each side of the screen. And these are pictures of women, 192 sets of images. And the women are either wearing like plain casual clothing or like sexy clothing.
Like red
I think
skirts. It's like ripped jeans and a kind of a sexy blouse. Or like a more revealing black blouse and a red skirt.
Right. And they got women volunteers. So they were either wearing casual or sexy clothes, and they were either smiling or like showing like a clear like rejection face.
Or kind of sexy, S&M face. I don't know. It depends how you...
Kegel face. So you can have casual or sexy clothing, and you can have flirting or rejecting face. So smile or like scowl. So what they argue is that you have now two cues available to use. Some of these are images of women with conflicting cues, a sexy clothing and a scowling face. Some of them are consistent, like casual and a rejecting face.
So they're, just to get the setup, like they're showing pictures to random German university students.
79 guys age 18 to 50 years old, recruited from a variety of not just university students, but
in a university town.
In a university town, right.
Yeah.
So they see two images, one on the left and the right, and they're asked to click on the woman who is more likely to flirt with you right now. Now, the idea is that the right answer is the one who's giving the specific cues, the smile. And the incorrect answer would be to rely on the global cue, just the sexy clothing.
That's the error. If you
That's the error, right? Which is important.
You pick a photograph of somebody that's flirting with you, but that's not actually.
But they're clearly
But
not,
the other photograph was flirting with you.
Obviously flirting with you. Yeah. Even as I look at these, I'm like, totally likes me.
Yeah.
So and they have 1 second to do that, and they have to click with a mouse. The other thing that they did was everybody got a sexual arousal manipulation. So the guys did a series of these tasks first, and then they listened to like erotic fiction on audio, like a woman doing erotic fiction. Oh, I had this pulled up. Maybe it's still up on my computer.
Oh, you got
They got this from somebody else. Like I don't think I could read it because it's so cringe to. Like,
no, just read a little bit.
I don't have. Oh no, I have it here. I have it here. It's from another paper. So I looked up the other paper because they didn't have it here.
Nice.
So they didn't specify which of these 4 erotic stories they used, but here's story 1. The party ended early. My boyfriend sits alone listening to music. I wear a low-cut dress that exposes the tops of my suntan breasts. I feel his warm skin when I playfully nibble his ear. Sliding onto his lap, I begin exploring his mouth with my tongue. As he guides his hand onto my breast, I moan, "Oh, babe, I need you so bad. Fuck me." I reach back, unzip my dress, and pull the front down. I don't think I can finish this.
Wait, what was the line? As I nibble...
When I playfully nibble his ear.
No, but like after that, about the mouth. I explore
I begin exploring his mouth.
David is
Vasco
all
da
red
Gama.
right now. He's like clearly the arousal condition has been met.
I'm embarrassed. This is very embarrassing.
I explode that. Like, to be fair, it's Germans, but like, is that the arousal condition? I explore his mouth with my tongue.
Well, it gets even better. I reach back, unzip my dress, and pull the front down. Excitedly, I press his face into my huge tits.
Awesome. Okay. Okay.
Later on, this is a few sentences later, my tongue laps the flesh of his excited cock.
Oh, man.
It gets even dirtier.
So that's the arousal condition.
Yeah.
What's the other, what's the control?
It's a pre and post. So they have people do the task before, then they get the sexual arousal stuff. By the way, it's a woman reading it. It's not me with my tampon in my throat voice. So it's pre-post, and they were predicting that people would be more likely to make errors, that is, rely on global cues, if they were sexually aroused. So what they collected was reaction time, how fast they did it, how many errors.
Wait, just so I understand, because you're talking in the jargon right now.
Sorry.
They thought that those who had listened to the sexy erotic fiction would be more likely to just ignore the pouting, rejecting face of the sexy one and actually just go for what they're wearing rather than what their face is clearly telling you. Yeah.
And they predicted that they would also be slower to make these decisions after they were aroused, which they didn't find, actually.
Why did they predict that they would be slower to make the decision?
Like that the conflict would be higher, I guess, because they were aroused.
Right. Because they're like, ooh, sexy girl, ooh, whatever, pouty face or grumpy face. But like, I don't know what to do. And then,
right.
Okay.
Right. So they also collected a bunch of self-report measures that they sort of label problematic sexuality. And this is stuff like these questionnaires that ask them a bunch of questions about what they would do. There were 7 different of these measures. Basically, how rapey men are. Acceptance of modern myths about sexual aggression, so rape myths. Hypersexual behavior inventory that studies hypersexual urges, thoughts, and fantasies. Sexual desire inventory that measures like how easily people are sexually aroused. Sexual inhibition and excitation.
These are like scales to determine some made up like property that a person has.
Well, it's like creepy. I'd say creepiness is not made up.
Yeah, no,
I think
that's definitely not.
Yeah. So they're trying to triangulate that sort of like guy.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. Yeah.
Okay. So what they did find that people were slower and they made more errors in general when they had the incongruent trials, when it was like pouty face and sexy dress, or sexy face and casual dress. Like people did make more errors. And they did make more errors when they were more sexually aroused. But weirdly, after they were sexually aroused, they were actually faster at doing this.
Well, because they're like,
they made more
they're
errors.
like Pepe Le
They had like
Pew.
certainty.
Yeah.
It's
like,
exactly.
I want to just be very clear what errors mean. It means that the girl with the like expression that the experimenters have deemed to be rejecting, they say that photograph is flirting with them instead of the same person, but if they have a, in their eyes, welcoming flirty face, which I have to say, I don't think the flirty faces are flirty.
Yeah, they're just smiles.
They're like waitress smiles.
Yeah, right. What they sometimes call like the Pan-American smile. Like they're not always genuine.
Yeah, like definitely the casual rejecting face looks rejecting. The sexy rejecting face versus the sexy flirting face, I think it is like a toss-up. Which of those two, like the sexy and rejecting face, we'll post this so people can judge for themselves, but she almost looks like she's more into it. You know, she's like, getting involved and maybe she's pretending to be offended by what you said, or she's like the quote unquote sexy flirting person just looks like, yes, thank you. Would you like any dessert? You know, like, it has zero flirtatious energy in my judgment.
To be fair, we only are seeing one of the pictures. We don't know what the rest of them were like, but I agree that the one that they did show us, it doesn't seem flirty. But even if it were a good smile, I think it's still a little weird to rely on that. Like
to call it errors.
Yeah, to call it errors and implying that when a woman smiles at you, that this somehow means that they're flirting with you is, I think, like a little problematic.
Right.
And it all does hinge on that. That's why I said, like, that's the question. It all hinges on whether or not you really think that this is a measure of men making errors. Now, what they would say is, and you may have told on yourself here, the people who score higher on the creepiness scale are more likely to say that the pouty face was flirting with them.
Okay. I haven't taken the scale.
Yeah, they took a combination of all of those scales. I mean, they looked at them individually and they looked at them together, and they showed that it was correlated with errors in that sense. So,
I will stand by this and I will show it to a jury. And I will ask, which of these two do you think is more flirtatious? And I think, because that's not what they were asking them, right?
The literal words are, click on the woman who's more likely to flirt with you right now.
And who would they show them? Because they wouldn't show the two same women, right?
Yes, they did show the same women. And my understanding is like it was the same woman on each side. So they wouldn't be driven by
other things.
Other things. I'm pretty sure that they did.
Well, that's weird. It's like, here are two twins. One of them is flirting with you and the other isn't.
Well, I think they would understand that in the context, but... So the other thing that I want to say that they do is they use this mouse tracking set of measures that I knew you were going to love this one. They can tell how like unsure you are about your choices by looking at the way that your mouse goes to one or the other. So like if you're really sure, it's like a straighter line. And if you're not that sure, it's like more curved. And those work sometimes, but that is kind of funny to think. To think that like the curve of your mouse movement is what's determined.
Think of all the things that you're like that are packed into this result. It's like this person actually is flirting, this photograph, and this photograph actually isn't flirting with you. So that's number one. Number two is like how fast you use your mouse is a sign of how like sure you are about your decision. And then number three is that erotic fiction from like the 1880s is like going to actually arouse you. And number four is that like if you're a creepy German dude, if you test high on this scale.
Well, I disagree strongly with the 1880s porn. Let me finish reading this then.
Mm-hmm.
My tongue laps the flesh of his excited cock. Oh, yes, that tastes so good, I groan. I want it now. Placing his hard cock into my cunt, I begin pumping. My breasts are bobbing as I hump him frantically. With a...
Okay, fine. 1950s.
70s, maybe.
70s, perhaps.
Men did report being more sexually aroused. I'll tell you also why I'm a little more inclined to like this paper than you. They actually cite me. Because back in the day, I did a study with Pete Ditto, my postdoc advisor. One of the studies in that paper was we had guys watch a video that was kind of sexy and then did some tasks afterwards. So we sexually aroused undergrads in that study.
Did they cite why honor matters more work for hard incompatibilism? Hard incompatibilism? Maybe in the follow-up study.
All right.
I mean, like, and so what's the point of this? It's like, so the title, which I think you said, although I'm not sure on air, is a good title. Address is not a yes.
Yes.
Towards an indirect mousetrapping measure of men's over-reliance on global cues in the context of sexual flirting. So the idea is that when you're all high testosteroned up, you're just going to go for the girl with the,
And this will lead to
rape.
bad things, right? Yeah, maybe. But at the very least, evolutionarily, it won't be a good strategy for you to keep going for women who are clearly not wanting you to approach them.
The lesson is just don't read D.H. Lawrence, like Lady Shatterley's Lover, before you go out to the bar, and you should be fine.
My real dream is that people will just keep rewinding my reading of the erotic fiction.
I think that would, yeah.
You know? But don't make any errors because of that. I beg of you. I don't want to be held responsible with my sexy readings.
Don't start fucking a photograph, but like the wrong photograph.
The scowling face. Yeah.
All right. We'll be right back to, again, have a respectable conversation about, this time, a great Borges story.
Welcome back to Very Bad Wizards. This is the part of the show where we predictably like to take a moment to thank all of our listeners for all the ways in which they support us. We really appreciate it. I mean, just the interaction that we have with you, the messages that we get from you, they're really the things that keep us going. And we just thank you from the bottom of our hearts for continuing to keep this show going. If you want to reach out to us via email, you can do so, verybadwizards@gmail.com. You can tweet to us at Tamler or at Peas, or to our Very Bad Wizards account at Very Bad Wizards. You can also join in discussions with some like-minded listeners or not. Reddit reddit.com/r/verybadwizards. That's our subreddit. You can follow us on Instagram, and we always appreciate you rating us, even leaving a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also rate us on Spotify. We've gotten a few of your Spotify year-end Spotify Wraps. We know that a lot of you listen to us a lot more than we would have ever expected. If you want to support us in more tangible ways, you can donate to us via PayPal for a one-time donation. You can buy merchandise. You can buy t-shirts or other clothing items or mugs. And finally, you can support us by becoming a member of our Patreon membership program. So if you become one of our patrons, you get a lot of perks. At $1 and up per episode, you get ad-free episodes all the time. You also get access to little collections I've put together of my beats. At $2 and up, it's the bonus episode tier. So $2 and up per episode, you get access to all of our bonus episodes, our back catalog, including our Deadwood podcast, The Ambulators. At $5 and up, you get all of that. Plus you get a few more things. You get to vote on an episode topic a couple times a year. You get access to our 5-part Brothers Karamazov series. You get access to some of my psych videos and a couple of Tamler's video lectures. At $10 and up, you get all of that. Plus you get to ask us anything. You get to, for a monthly video that we do, you get to ask us a question. We release that for video for our $10 and up per episode subscribers, but we also release an audio version for our bonus tier. So at $2 and up, everybody gets to hear our answers to those questions. Sometimes those things go like 2 hours long. So if for some reason you want to hear more of us rambling, definitely become a Patreon supporter. And there's a ton of back bonus episodes on various movies and TV shows, hours and hours of content that we really hope you enjoy. We appreciate all of you so much. Thank you for the support that you give us in all of the ways that I've just mentioned. And yeah, happy holidays. Thank you very much for listening.
All right, welcome back to Very Bad Wizards. Now we get to talk about a Jorge Luis Borges story. It hasn't been that long, but it's been like 6 months or something like that. So I think we held off long enough.
Yeah. I have no self-control when it comes to whether or not to do a Borges story.
Yeah, it's true. And I have been teaching a seminar where we read Borges stories. This was one we reread early in the semester. So let me give like a quick rundown of the plot, and then we'll go through it in the careful way that we always do. But I want to say about this story in a way that I don't about other stories and other Borges stories even, read the story before listening, because there's a twist.
Yes.
And I think the twist is really important to experience before knowing that it's going to happen when you're reading the story. Yeah.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
And it's like 4 pages. Like, just read the story. It's available. You can find it online. All right. Now, assuming that you have, let me give a brief rundown of the plot. It's very much like a genre piece. I like when Borges does like full-on genre, because he always subverts it in an interesting way, and definitely very interesting here. So the genre here is the detective story with all the tropes and characters of a detective story. You have this brilliant private investigator named Lönnrot. He's very much along the lines of Sherlock Holmes or Hercule Poirot. He deploys reason and logic and a kind of an ability to recognize patterns that enable him to solve cases that flummox the common person. You also have the kind of gruff, common sense-oriented police commissioner, Treverius. He's well-meaning, but kind of also frustrated and grumbling about the eccentric methods and the complex theorizing of Lönnrot. But he keeps him in the loop because he has a huge record of success, even if, they look at the world in different ways. I guess he's a private investigator. That's how they always are. They never work with the police. Like, they're not employed by the police, but the police consult them. So the antagonist, as it turns out, is named Sherlock. I didn't get that until I taught it in the class. Did you?
No. Wait, what? Get what? Sherlock?
Yeah, Sherlock, which is
not until you said it.
Yeah.
Literally.
And he's like a Jewish crime lord of some kind.
It's like Mo Green.
Yeah, exactly. Or what's his name? Bugsy Siegel. So the story starts with a murder, just one murder, and only Lönnrot can see that this isn't just like a botched robbery like the kind of dim-witted commissioner thinks, Trevoranus. It's like part of this larger conspiracy, in this case, like a rabbinical conspiracy.
Right, because the murdered man, I don't know if you said it, but the murdered man is a rabbi, right?
Yeah, the murdered man is a rabbi, and he had a lot of texts with him that were part of this kind of Hasidic, Kabbalistic, what seems like a quest to find the hidden name of God, but also to keep the name hidden. So then you have two more strange murders. In the first one, you get the first name. What is it? The first name of God has been written.
Yeah, the first letter of the name has been written.
The first letter of the name has been written. In the second murder, the second letter of the name has been written. And then the third murder, the last letter of the name has been written. But Lönnrot doesn't think the third murder is the last one. And he deciphers from all these arcane clues that come from all these Hasidic Talmudic texts that there are actually going to be 4 murders. And because of the location of the first 3, he knows, and the symmetry of that, he knows where the next one will take place. So he goes there to solve the crime and I guess prevent the murder. But now everything gets turned upside down in the story. It turns out that Trevoranus, the commissioner, was right and that the first murder was just a botched robbery and that the third murder was a simulacrum. It didn't even happen, which actually Trevoranus had said. And what we learn is that Sherlock had set up this intricate trap for Lönnrot to fall into because Sherlock wanted to avenge his brother who Lönnrot had caught and he blamed him for his death. And he knew Lönnrot would jump at the idea of this complex conspiracy that only he could solve, set that up to lead him to this insanely designed villa where he is staying, and then Lönnrot is the 4th victim, and he's killed. And what we find out ultimately is that Lönnrot, for this case anyway, has been less Hercule Poirot and more Inspector Clouseau. And it's actually Trevoranus that was the person who guessed right every time he had an opinion. He was always right. And one of the things that I love is that Lönnrot dies even after, being kind of exposed and humiliated in this way. He dies with a kind of dignity and then offers a cryptic remark about labyrinths as his final words, which we definitely have to talk about. So, Dave, there's so much to dig into here thematically, philosophically, but I just want to start by asking a really basic question, which is, where does this story rank for you in the Borges canon, or at least the Very Bad Wizards? If you're just looking at those stories that we've done, where does it rank for you?
Man, okay, so like my gut reaction is to refuse to answer until we're done, because I've noticed it really, like, our discussions make me come out of these episodes like so much more excited about the stories than I went into them with. And like, I suspect that it's going to move up in my rankings after we talk about it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, and that's what I've felt like in our episodes and also teaching this class, is that you, just by talking about it, like the richness of the story just sprouts, like just things that you didn't even know were flowers just become flowers, Yeah.
Right. Yeah, right. I mean, so like that central twist, and I've read this before, but I hadn't read it in years. So it was like reading it for the first time, I think. I didn't remember the twist at all. So I went on that journey and it really went from being like, oh, this guy's pretty fucking cool. Like, he's like Sherlock or House MD. Yeah. And just being taken down completely.
Undressed
and manipulated because of this tendency to oversee patterns and his confidence and his desire to see the world as this organized mystery that's there for him. That being taken down because of his overseeing patterns. I don't know why. Like, I almost took it personally.
Yeah. It is more of a Tamler like ending than a David ending in that way. The hubris of thinking you can like figure everything out.
Well, see, I knew you were going to have that, but on the other hand, I think here is where I went astray in thinking that conspiracies and patterns were there when they actually aren't.
Yeah.
Like in that way,
yeah.
I think it's a David ending where
Right.
like the world is banal. Like it's not as interesting as you want it to be, you know?
Yeah. No, that's right. In a way that complicates whether this is a David or Tamler ending.
Right, exactly. And I think I wanted it to be in that way that you know me.
Yeah.
You know that like I love this shit. Like I love this Kabbalah shit.
Yeah, no,
I love that mystical
Your soul
stuff.
does, yes.
My soul does. Like I'm reading this stuff and I'm like, oh yeah, the tetragrammaton. Oh yeah, of course, the secret name of God. Like
Right.
this is all
Which
stuff
I don't know anything about, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, even though I want to be that, I want to be you there. It's very tragic. We should switch selves.
If we could swap qualities.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
like singular qualities.
Aspects. Yeah. There is a kind of Borges protagonist that is very uncomfortable with either chaos or just asymmetries, things that don't fit together right.
Yeah.
And when they try to then project or impose order or meaning on something that is inherently chaotic or mysterious, they get into trouble. And this is a great example of that.
Yeah. As I keep thinking about it, there is this tension where it's like I can see the reading that Borges is saying, like your over-reliance on reason and logic are going to lead you astray because reality is not like that. But on the other hand, it's like Trevoranus. I'm going to say Trevoranus because it's not anus because I'll chuckle every time. Trevoranus is actually better at reasoning, it seems.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
no, which is
he's
interesting.
able to ignore irrelevant stuff, which is an important part of being good at this.
And I think that is clearly something that Borges is interested in. Why not only Lönnrot, but also the reader, like you and like me, is more attached to, like, we don't want to read about a botched robbery and like a petty, you know, like we want rabbinical explanations, you know?
Can I read the part at the beginning where Trevoranus is saying, like, obviously this is just a botched robbery. So the idea here was that the first murder, the rabbi that was found dead, was actually staying in a hotel room that was directly across from a guy, the Tetrarch of Galilee, the guy who had a bunch of sapphires that were very valuable.
Yeah.
So the idea was, well, this guy went in to steal the jewels, went into the wrong room and decided that he had to kill this guy. So Trevoranus says... Trevoranus. Maybe I should just stick with that. Says, what do you think? To Lönnrot. And he says, possible, but uninteresting. You will reply that reality has not the slightest obligation to be interesting. I will reply in turn that reality may get along without that obligation, but hypotheses may not. In the hypotheses that you suggest here on the spur of the moment, chance plays a disproportionate role. What we have here is a dead rabbi. I would prefer a purely rabbinical explanation, not the imaginary bunglings of an imaginary burglar. And this to me shows that he wants the world to be this way. Like, it's like he's going in just like willfully saying, both like, I don't believe you, but also like, I don't want that to be the explanation.
Yeah, so if you read over it, it sounds like something maybe Sherlock Holmes or Poirot or whatever could say. But actually, it is quite like unusual to say, like, so he anticipates your objection and says, you will reply that reality has not the slightest obligation to be interesting. I will reply in turn that reality may get along with that obligation, but hypotheses may not. Like, what the fuck does that mean?
I don't know. And I was puzzled by this. Why would a hypothesis not be obligated to match reality? If he's saying that reality might not have that obligation, why? And, you know, Borges describes him like in the beginning as, what does he say? Like an adventurer?
He thought of himself as a reasoning machine. and Auguste Dupin, but there was something of the adventurer in him, even something of the gambler. But again, like when you're first reading that, it's like, well, that's true for all of them, you know? Sherlock
You're like, oh
Holmes
yeah,
is
he's a
like,
badass detective. Yeah.
like, I think like you kind of pass over that because of the genre, but then these little things come up and it's like, wait, what does that mean?
Yeah.
How is that a reasoning machine that says hypotheses have to be interesting and don't have to match reality, you know?
Yeah. I think that he liked it. He was like, this was a mystery, just not the mystery that I had anticipated.
Yeah.
Like, I think that he was pleased even at the end that there had been a mystery created for him. So like, I think he wants to go about his life seeing the world in this way.
He would rather die and have the like this be some intricate pattern than live and the world just be chaotic.
Exactly. Yeah. Chaotic and boring.
Yeah. So, well, let's save that because I have some. Yes. Okay. I love the opening. So it says, of the many problems on which Lönnrot's reckless perspicacity was exercised, none was so strange, so rigorously strange, one might say, as the periodic series of bloody deeds that culminated at the Villa Triste du Roi amid the perpetual fragrance of the eucalyptus. It is true that Erik Lönnrot did not succeed in preventing the last crime, but he did indisputably foresee it. Nor did he divine the identity of Yarmolansky's unlucky murderer, but he did perceive the evil series' secret shape and the part played in it by Red Sharlock, whose second sobriquet is Sharlock the Dandy. That criminal, like so many others, had sworn upon his honor to kill Lönnrot, but Lönnrot never allowed himself to be intimidated. So it like kind of tells you the ending right at the beginning, you know?
Yeah.
And this is where you get that line.
And you're so right that because you're immediately aware that this is genre, you know, you don't even think about it. You're like, okay, cool.
Oh,
you're
yeah.
setting up
of
this
course
world,
he has some like Moriarty that like wants to bring him down. And I love the way that Borges plays with that and subverts it in every way. Like, so you have this first murder where the commissioner, Trevor Enos, was saying that like somebody broke into the wrong room and this rabbi woke up and the burglar had to kill him. And so, as we've talked about, Lönnrot rejects that and then sees all these Kabbalah books, including a monograph in German on the tetragrammaton. So you know about this tetragrammaton. So explain.
Tetragrammaton is the term used to refer to the name of the Jewish God, Yahweh, that has 4 letters, usually YHWH. And those 4 letters are of mystical significance and have some power. That's why a lot of, I guess, the Hasids, but also probably like the, what do you call it, the other, like the conservative Jews?
Oh, Lubavitches. Lubavitches can get into the mystical stuff.
Yeah, or any, like even just the strict ones, like the people who write G underline D.
Oh, yeah.
Instead
like
of
just
out.
like my Orthodox Jewish relative.
Yeah, Orthodox. Yeah. Orthodox is just...
Is that the word you were looking for?
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Yeah. So like even Orthodox Jews won't say that out loud. They'll say other words
Hashem.
like Adonai.
Yeah.
Hashem. Yeah, exactly. Which just means the name. And there's a ton of writing about what these letters mean. Like there's a ton of analysis in Kabbalistic writing and just in general Judaistic traditions where you take the letters and the numbers associated with those letters and, you know, you see that like the word Adam and the word Eve like combine, I don't know, shit like that.
Good numerology.
Yeah, that kind of numerology.
Yeah.
Exactly. That delicious stuff.
Yeah.
And then when he says divine nomenclature of the Pentateuch, he's talking about just the various words for God that are there in the first 5 books of the Bible. One of the books is a vindication of the Kabbalah. Another one is a study of the philosophy of Robert Flood, who was a mystic, I think British. The Sefer Yeserah, history of the Hasidim. So you read that and I'm having the same sort of wet dreams that I know Lönnrot is having as he sees these books, right?
Totally.
And Lönnrot is like, I need to take these books with me. Like, right.
It's so funny that you know way more about this stuff than I do. Like I have like cousins and uncles who love
this shit.
Well, they're Orthodox Jews, you know. I don't know if they love this shit, but yeah, right.
Yeah. So Trevor Anna says, look, I'm a poor Christian fellow. You could take those books if you want them. I can't be wasting my time on Jewish superstitions. Lönnrot says, says, this crime may, however, belong to the history of Jewish superstition.
As Christianity does, this writer
that's
says.
right.
That's
That's
a
such a
nice
great
little touch there.
And that writer was an atheist,
Yes.
and quite shy. So somebody finds in the typewriter that's in this guy's room a paper that only has this written. The first letter of the name has been written,
Right.
and name is capitalized. And Lönnrot says Lönnrot resisted a smile.
Yeah. This is why I say he's Clouseau-like, is because he has the kind of arrogance and complacency of somebody who has everything figured out while completely being out of the loop.
But he's Sherlock still. As I'm reading, he's still Sherlock.
Totally. As you're reading it for the first time, 100%. But like, yeah, he resisted a smile is something you might say about like a Clouseau kind of character.
Yeah, he's like, aha. So he turned bibliophile or Hebraist and took all the books and set himself to studying him. So like he says about the Tetragrammaton and about the notion that God has a secret name which contains his ninth attribute, the eternity, immediate knowledge of all things that shall be, are, and have been in the universe. Tradition reckons the names of God at 99, while Hebraists attribute that imperfect sum to the magical fear of even numbers. The Hasidim argue that the lacuna points toward a 100th name, the absolute name. So that's what gets him going. Yeah. He's like, there is something going on where they're trying to find the secret name, and maybe this guy was like close to it or something, right?
And to be fair, like that's a strange thing to find on the typewriter, and then you find all this other stuff that this rabbi was working on, and the idea that it's like the eternal name, like the absolute. Yeah. And so then he gives this interview, I guess, to that same writer who said,
that same guy,
yeah. There's this reporter from Yiddish newspaper. This is his huge mistake right here, as you only learn when you're at the end of the story. But the way it's described is the young man wanted to talk about the murder. Lönnrot preferred to talk about the many names of God. And this is kind of an echo of an earlier interaction with Treviranus, where he says, I'm not interested in rabbinical explanations, as you call them. What I'm interested in is catching the blackguard that stabbed the unknown man. Some people are focused on the murder, but not Lönnrot here. He wants to talk about the many names of God. And so the journalist just reports that Lönnrot is on this, and this is the thing that's going to get Sherlock to set his plan in motion.
Yeah. And Lönnrot, so it says like the guy ends up writing like 3 paragraphs about Lönnrot's like talking about the names of God. And Lönnrot is okay with that.
So then there's another crime that happens. This is just a guy in the western outskirts on the Capitol. Is he in an alley or something? You really don't know exactly the details of this, except where it is. But it's I guess some kind of like underling in the organized crime of what city? Where is this city? It's very weird.
Yeah, he never mentions it, and it was bothering me as I was reading. I was like, is it Paris? Because Lönnrot sounds like a French name.
But also maybe German or Belgian or something like Flemish or something.
Yeah,
and then,
right.
And then Sherlock sounds German, Yiddish, Jewish. Yeah. And Treviranus is like Roman, Latin.
Yeah, what is that? Yeah, exactly.
So it's like they really just don't tell you. And so, we really have no idea. Because he often has a good sense of place in his stories. So he's really going out of his way to leave this ambiguous. So then, I guess some graffiti on the wall says the second letter of the name has been written, and now he thinks, okay, this is 7.
Yeah, it turns out to be more 7 than, and I don't know if we mentioned, but both of them were stabbed in the chest. Mm-hmm. That's how they were killed. Deep knife wound split his chest. His hard face looked as though it were wearing a mask of blood. And somebody chalked that second letter of the name. And it was exactly a month after the first one.
That's right.
So January 3rd.
So then we go right to the third crime. Yeah, so this is what I was talking about. It's very Eyes Wide Shut, where you have this guy, he's staying at this like Irish kind of mid-level gangsters pub and inn.
Because Treviranus received a phone call from a guy calling himself Ginsburg.
Right.
So he tracks that phone call to this tavern.
That's right. This very strange thing where this guy is staying there for 8 days, and a car pulls up with a driver and 2 people dressed as harlequins. They confront Griffius, who had paid all that money, not Ginsburg, but Griffius. He seems to be a little uncomfortable with by the fact that they're there, but he goes up to their room. They come down. They're all drunk. And it seems like maybe Griffius has been drugged, and then he's kind of laughingly taken out of the pub and into the car. On like a chalkboard, it says the final letter of the name has been written. The last letter of the name has been written.
The driver was, according to witnesses, wearing a bear mask.
Yeah, right.
And the other the figures he was with were harlequins, which is what, like a joker? Is like they were just like jokers? Like, what does that mean?
Harlequin, like I think it's like Commedia dell'arte, that very theatrical.
Like a court jester looking
Yeah,
thing?
exactly. 18th century kind of like costume ball kind of thing.
So very weird, very surreal scene.
Yeah.
Right. A guy in a very eyes wide shut, as you were saying.
And the last harlequin scrawled an obscene figure and the sentence on one of the blackboards in the entryway. What do you think the obscene figure is?
Like a dick. I can't help but think that he just drew a dick, because he's like a street criminal, it turns out. Like,
but like, why is that part of the plan for him to do that? Maybe it was.
my thought
That's
is
right.
that he like told this guy to write this mysterious thing, and he's like, I'm going to draw a dick while I'm at it.
So they go into his room, and they've on the floor there was a brusque star in blood. In the corners, the remains of a cigarette. Hungarian. On a bureau, a book in Latin, Leusden's Philogus Hebraeogaicus,
Greekus.
with several handwritten notes. Trevoranus looked at it indignantly and sent for Lönnrot. It's like, oh, fuck me.
Yeah.
So then Lönnrot just plunges into the book, and the commissioner is already smelling a rat, you could see, because he says he interrogated contradictory witnesses to the possible kidnapping. Trevoranus says, what if tonight's story were a sham, a simulacrum? And here Lönnrot smiles and in a grave voice read the commissioner a passage which had been underlined from the Philologus 33rd dissertation. And it's just this piece of Latin, which means the Jewish day begins at sundown and lasts until sundown of the following day. It's so good because, like the commissioner is just completely on it right now. Like It was a sham and he's just quoting Latin to him.
Right. To be clear, there's no body.
There's no body. There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's just a guy who left seemingly in a good mood under somewhat suspicious circumstances and weird, surreal circumstances with friends.
Okay, so can I just tell you my journey here as I'm reading this?
Yeah.
I read it, and the first crime is committed, and it says the first letter of the name has been written. And again, I don't remember any of this story, so this is all pretty much brand new to me. I am like, oh, well, the tetragrammaton, so the 4 letters that are God's name. And I'm thinking, Yarmolinsky, that's a Y. So that's the first letter of the name of God.
Yeah.
So like the next murder is going to be a W, which it wasn't. So I don't know, maybe, but there's definitely going to be 4 murders.
Right.
And then there's just the third one says the last letter of the name has been written. And now I'm like, wait, did he just miss the third letter? Because obviously this is about the name of God. And obviously
That's so
it's
funny.
4 letters.
I wish I could have been you reading this story. Because I'm just like, what's going on? I don't totally, I get that this is part of some Kabbalah mysticism thing, but I'm not getting the references.
So I'm thinking now Lönnrot is like, something's up. This is 4. Has to be, which turns out that's
You've
where his
fallen
thought goes
into
too. Like,
Sherlock's trap.
Exactly. Right. So now he has a clue, the underlined stuff that says Jewish day is sundown to sunset, which I don't know that it makes that much of a difference to the story, but he's like, this is a clue.
Oh, I know why. The murders happened on the 3rd, but after sundown. So it's actually
So it was
like
actually
the
on
4th.
the 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah, which 4, right?
Yeah.
So now 4, that's right. So now he's like 4, something's going on. There's going to be 4 murders.
Yeah, this is great.
Right. And Trevoranus is like, that's the most valuable piece of information you picked up. And then he says, no, the most valuable piece of information is the word Ginsburg used. So that's what I wanted to ask you. What does that mean? So the phone call from somebody named Ginsburg says that he said that for a reasonable fee, he was willing to reveal certain details of the 2 sacrifices, Azevedo's, which was the second murder, and Yarmolinsky's. Was the word sacrifices? Is this what he's pointing to?
It's a good question.
Because, so here's my thinking. He thinks that there is a ritual going on, like a ritual killing of Jews that will like help reveal the name of God or something like that.
Yeah.
And so to call them not murders, but sacrifices is pointing in that direction.
Yeah, and it has to also lead to the idea that it's that there's a fourth murder coming. So maybe that's the idea that kind of confirms his suspicion that this is part of this Kabbalah.
Part of a ritual.
Yeah. Part of this ritual conspiracy and not just a random series of events.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my
Dandy
best
red
guess.
Scarlac. By the way, I was reading, I don't know if you saw that red Scarlac is like, Scarlac means red too.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like red.
Scarlet.
Red,
Yeah, like scarlet. Yeah.
But Black Finnegan, like Finnegan is related to the Irish word for white.
Yeah.
So black, white is they're like opposites.
I have a theory about Sharlock I want to test out on you because it's actually something I thought of since the class, and I kind of like it. So then they get, Treviranus gets a letter. It's a letter signed Baruch Spinoza, and it gives a detailed map of the city, and it predicts that on the 3rd of March there would not be a fourth crime because the paint factory in the west, the tavern on the Rue de Toulon, the Hotel du Nord were perfect points of a mystical equilateral triangle. And then so Treviranus reads this argument by geometry and sends it and the map to Lonro's house, Lonro indisputably being a man who deserved this kind of claptrap.
Right.
And then here's where I love this, reading this when you know the ending. So when Lonro gets the map and the letter, he just smiles and he telephones the commissioner and says, "Thanks for that equilateral triangle you sent me last night. It was what I needed to solve the puzzle. Tomorrow, Friday, the perpetrators will be in prison. We can relax." Right. Then they're not planning a fourth crime? It's precisely because they are planning a fourth crime that we can relax, Lonro said as he hung up. It's so funny because it's exactly what like a Sherlock Holmes kind of character would say, but then it's also what a clue, like it's just a question of whether like there's a match between you and the world or there's a mismatch. And in this case, there's a complete mismatch between how you think you're understanding this and how the world actually is.
Right. And he to solve this, he used a compass, which it's funny. As I was reading this, he said a drawing compass and a navigational compass completed that sudden intuition. And I only then realized like that compass means those two things.
What?
That there's a compass that's a drawing compass and there's a compass that you use to navigate. There are two completely different objects, which in Spanish is two completely different words. So the title in Spanish, La Muerte y la Brújula, is referring specifically to the navigational compass. So he's very proud of himself. He like pulled out his geometry and he triangulated, or whatever you call it, that point on the map that he's now certain the fourth crime is going to be. But, and he's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
He did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah. Lonro smiled to think that the most famous of the criminals, Red Sherlock, would have given anything to know about his clandestine visit. Acevedo had been one of Sherlock's gang. Lonro considered the remote possibility that Sherlock was to be the fourth victim, but then rejected it. He had virtually solved the problem. The mere circumstances, the reality, names, arrests, faces, the paperwork of trial and imprisonment held very little interest for him now. He wanted to go for a walk. He wanted a respite from the 3 months of sedentary investigation. He reflected that the explanation for the crimes lay in an anonymous triangle and a dusty Greek word. The mystery seemed so crystal clear to him now, he was embarrassed to have spent 100 days on it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love embarrassed.
Yeah. It was too easy.
So good.
So then he goes to this villa. I don't know what you thought about this. He goes on a train, like that seems very, like a Borges Miyazaki train. It's like there's nobody else on it. It's
liminal. It's very liminal.
It's a liminal train. He ends up at this place called Villa Triste-le-Roi, which he says abounded in pointless asymmetries and obsessive repetitions. A glacial Diana in a gloomy niche was echoed by a second Diana in a second niche. One balcony was reflected in another. Double stairways open to a double balustrade. A two-faced Hermes threw a monstrous shadow. And he goes into this villa and seems very discombobulated by its lack of meaning and purpose and like coherence.
Right. He is feeling that feeling that this is not the orderly
Yeah.
kind that like it doesn't contain the order that he's looking for. And discombobulated is a good word for it. Like he is thrown off by this. And you can tell that he is, as he's laying out all of these details, he's trying really hard to come up with the pattern.
Yeah.
Right.
And he can't.
And he can't.
The house itself is making it so that he can't.
It's dizzying him. And he says to himself, on the second floor, on the uppermost floor, the house seemed infinite, yet still growing. He's like going through all these labyrinthine kind of like hallways and rooms and windows. The house is not so large, he thought. It seems larger because of its dimness, its symmetry, its mirrors, its age, my unfamiliarity with it, and this solitude.
Yeah.
So he's saying, like, this can't be as complicated as it seems to me. There's something that I'm missing.
Yeah. The fact that he's trying to reduce the house, he's trying to make it smaller and make excuses for the fact that he can't understand it. Something along those lines, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And so here's where finally he goes up a stairway and through a trapdoor of some sort. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, he is a bit of a gambler.
Yeah. Right. At some point he had said before this, he says, he pushed at it 2 or 3 marble steps, descended into a cellar. Lönnrot, who by now had a sense of the architect's predilections, guessed that there would be another set of steps. Yeah. So he's like really trying, right? He's like, but what we read comes after. So he's
always a step behind. Yeah. He's always one move behind.
So boom, the 2 short henchmen pop out, grab him, and Sherlock is there, right? Taller Sherlock. And he's like, you're the one who's been seeking the secret name?
Which is, again, it's so humiliating. Like it shows he doesn't even get it once he's being apprehended. And I think Sherlock's reply there is interesting. He says, no, I am looking for something more fleeting and more perishable than that.
I'm looking for Erik Lönnrot.
What do you make of that? No, I'm looking for something more specific. It kind of echoes I'm looking for the murderer, or I'm looking for the blackguard who stabbed this guy in the chest, not like the name of God, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the concrete.
Yeah.
And that he is familiar enough as a good Jew, unlike you, he's familiar enough for what Lönnrot thinks he's onto. Like this, you know, the ineffable name of God, the eternal truth or whatever. And he's like, no, I'm not after anything nearly that eternal and interesting. I'm looking for something fleeting.
Terrestrial, perishable.
Perishable, exactly, yeah.
You know, I'm looking for something that is particular and of this earth. Your mistake was that you're not capable of doing that. He wasn't interested. Remember on the previous description, like the names of the people and the perpetrators, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
It's like that held very little interest for him. But that in some ways is part of his downfall. Well, not even in some ways. I think that is clearly part of his downfall, that he's not interested in the specifics. He's interested in the grand patterns, the equilateral triangles and the mythical tetragrammons. Grammatons.
Tetragramma. So he says, he tells the story, right? He's giving the sort of villain's explanation of this.
Which is funny because it's like, this is the drawing room speech that Lönnrot should be giving.
Yeah,
like where he's like, and then I figured this out, and then I knew you would do this, so I said this. But it's actually like the villain that gets to give it, you know?
He flipped it.
Yeah.
He flipped it. So he says, look, like I'm looking for you because 3 years ago you arrested my brother and sent him to prison. And there was a shootout and I got shot in the gut by a policeman. And I came here to this place. And for 9 days and 9 nights, I lay between life and death. He says, in this desolate, symmetrical villa, consumed by fever, and the hateful two-faced Janus that looks toward the sunset and the dawn lent horror to my deliriums and my sleeplessness. I came to abominate my own body. I came to feel that 2 eyes, 2 hands, 2 lungs are as monstrous as 2 faces. An Irishman tried to convert me to belief in Christ. He would repeat over and over the Goyim's saying, all roads lead to Rome. At night, my delirium would grow fat upon that metaphor. I sensed that the world was a labyrinth, impossible to escape, for all roads, even if they pretended to lead north or south, returned finally to Rome, which was also the rectangular prison where my brother lay dying, and which was also the Villa Triste de l'Roi. So there is something here about his hatred of symmetry that I find super interesting.
Yeah.
What is it that is ugly about symmetry to him?
Yeah, especially since he's taking an act of revenge on behalf of his brother which kind of seems like a symmetrical act. What's weird is the villa, as Lönnrot experienced it, I guess it had kind of an eerie symmetry.
He called it a pointless symmetry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Sherlock is into the particular, the things that don't have its perfect reflection or ideal.
Right. So remember when he's talking about the 99 names of God,
Yeah.
and how some people have this rejection of there can't just be 99. Like that would be ugly. That would be not symmetrical. It's not an even number.
Yeah.
And there are people who desire symmetry as this sort of like a Platonic ideal that the world should have these patterns. And Sherlock is not that. He comes to hate the symmetry.
Yeah.
He is, I think, like very comfortable in the worldly, in the ugly, in the messy, like in the concrete.
In the relational, like he's avenging his brother and avenging the fact that he was shot in the gut. These very real things that happen.
And he completely manipulated Lönnrot because he knew of this desire for clean patterns, like interesting symmetries. Like he knew that he couldn't handle that it was a triangle. It had to be 4 sides. Yeah. Couldn't be 3.
Standing on the running board of the coupe, one of them scrawled on the pillar the words that you recall. The last letter of the name has been written. That sentence revealed that this was a series of 3 crimes. At least that's how the man in the street interpreted it. But I had repeatedly dropped clues so that you, the reasoning, in italicized, the reasoning Erik Lönnrot, would realize that there were actually 4. 1 sign in the north, 2 more in the east and west, demand a 4th sign in the south. After all, the tetragrammaton, the name of God, Yahweh, or YHVH, consists of 4 letters. The Harlequins and the paint manufacturer's emblem suggest 4 terms. It was I who underlined the passage in Ludson's book. Yeah.
That's smart. He's a smart guy. He sent the triangle knowing it would fuck with Lönnrot. Knowing that Lönnrot would have to find he would be compelled to like give the right answer.
It's a perfect trap for, the reasoning Erik Lönnrot. He knows that he couldn't resist this. It's like deterministic.
Right. I knew you would add the missing point, the point that makes a perfect rhombus, the point that fixes the place where a precise death awaits you. Yeah. I have done all this, Erik Lönnrot, planned all this in order to draw you to the solitudes of Tristan.
And then, so Lönnrot avoided Sherlock's eyes. He doesn't look at his eyes. He looks at the trees, the skies, subdivided into murky red and green and yellow rhombuses. So he's still seeing like geometric shapes as he's going to die. He felt a chill and an impersonal, almost anonymous sadness. Again, his attraction to the abstract, to the idealized, to the intricate and complex, he takes till the end. Okay, but then we have this last bit that I want to ask you about. For the last time, Lönnrot considered the problem of the symmetrical periodic murders. And he says to Sherlock, "There are 3 lines too many in your labyrinth," he said at last. "I know of a Greek labyrinth that is but 1 straight line. So many philosophers have been lost upon that line that a mere detective might be pardoned if he becomes lost as well. When you hunt me down in another avatar of our lives, Sherlock, I suggest that you fake or commit 1 crime at A, a 2nd crime at B, 8 kilometers from A, then a 3rd crime at C, 4 kilometers from A and B and halfway in between them, then wait for me at D, 2 kilometers from A and C, once again halfway between them, kill me at D as you are about to kill me at Triste-le-Roi." And then Sherlock says, "The next time I kill you, I promise you the labyrinth that consists of a single straight line that is inevitable and endless," and then he shoots
invisible.
Yeah. So what do you make of the labyrinth that's a single line? The Zeno's paradox, you can never get to that's the kind of one obvious way of trying to understand what he's saying, but it doesn't totally explain why either of them are talking about this.
Yeah. So I don't know that I have the answer, but it's very clearly, I think, describing a Zeno's paradox.
Yeah.
So when he's saying A and B, C, he's creating a line and splitting it in halves, right? With Zeno's paradox being like, imagine a distance between 2 points that you keep having And if you keep having it, there's an infinitesimal distance between the last bit. So Zeno was saying that this refutes the idea of motion to begin with, I guess.
Yeah, I think the better version of that is that Achilles can never pass the tortoise, because every time Achilles will get to where the tortoise will have moved a little bit, as long as the tortoise is moving continuously. So it's this idea that we can't actually achieve the goal that we're trying to achieve because there's always the infinite number of steps to take in between them.
Yeah. So I think what's going on here is in his sadness, his mind is turning to the symmetry that's happened, and he's like bummed out. And I think he's holding on in this last bit, like maybe there's a world in which this happens all over again. Let's make it even more elegant. Like there is a certain elegance to the four, to the rhombus shape. But what would even be better is the mystery, the labyrinth that comes from the infinity of a straight line. Let's do that one next time. It's great kind of because he's accepted that Shylock was the one who created this labyrinth for him and trapped him. He's accepted that that was the outcome, that there was nothing deeper. And he's like, next time we go around this world, he's not saying like, let it be the name of God. He's saying like, you're going to do it to me. Like, let's do it even better. Like, let's really get this one.
The thing about Zeno's paradox is you have this goal that you can never get to. And in this labyrinth, which is this enclosed rhombus, he could arrive at the destination. But if you do it in this Zeno's paradox way, it will reoccur and reoccur indefinitely with him never arriving at the explanation, which he now realizes is what he wants. He just wants the chase. He doesn't want the destination. Like he's bored when he thinks he's solved the case. So give me a Zeno's paradox labyrinth that I can keep doing this forever.
Yeah, I want to be lost in this labyrinth.
Yeah.
Right? And this is another echo of the infinite.
Yeah.
He couldn't achieve the infinite through the mystical name of God and the tetragrammaton, but maybe he can achieve the infinite in this way, because Zeno's paradox shows that even within the bounds of a line, there is an infinity that is contained there. So let me get lost in that trap.
Forever. And not just arrive at a destination where
The other reading is that he's like, okay, this pattern was a little too Jewy. Can we do a Greek one next time?
Exactly.
And I love that Shylock is like, yeah, I'll do that for you, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's like he gives them, it's like you said at the beginning, it's an honorable death.
Yeah.
Like, he played this game for Lönnrot. That's why I was saying, like, even though Lönnrot is sad when he realizes that this was mundane and not, mystical and eternal, Shylock is giving him this gift where if he has to die, like, he's scratching that itch for him. He's created a mystery for him to lure him.
Yeah.
He didn't have to. He could have just stabbed him in the street, right?
Yeah.
And this is like, it does read a little bit like the respect and, that's a trope between the criminal and the detective.
Totally.
They're both smart.
Yeah, they're both two sides of the same coin. Absolutely. I agree. Let me just float a different interpretation that just occurred to me on a walk today. Shylock as like Descartes' evil demon. So here Lönnrot is trying to, out of whole cloth, create this conspiracy out of what really is just a messed up jewel robbery. And he a priori turns this into some rabbinical conspiracy. And if Shylock is the evil demon, he is the one that is giving him the illusion that all of this stuff is happening, which is exactly what Descartes was worried about, right? Descartes, it's this methodical doubt. I will doubt anything unless I can be certain that it's true. First, he does the cogito. He says, well, I think, therefore I am. I'm a thinking being. But then he has to establish the existence of a loving God because he's worried that his senses could be deceiving him. And so he has to make sure that there's no evil demon like systematically deceiving him where he would think that he's onto it. He would think that he has figured out this world and like its underlying nature, but actually he's being systematically misled. Then Descartes tries to prove the existence of a benevolent God that would make that impossible, but those arguments aren't good. Like this is what happens if you allow yourself to accept your questionable a priori arguments, you can be systematically misled in the way that Lönnrot was. And I think the story can easily be read as a kind of a cautionary tale to the kind of Western philosopher that is trying to understand the fundamental nature of the world through reason, and how that can result in them being systematically misled and then undressed and humiliated in the face of something that is beyond their actual capacities. The evil demon is actually taking advantage of Descartes' desire to try to make sense of the world and misleading him because of that. And that's what Sherlock does to Lönnrot. He takes advantage of his hubris, like his belief that he can figure all this out, put the puzzle together.
He's constructed the truth. Yeah. I mean, I like that. I think that's right. He has created whole cloth a world that he knows Lönnrot wants to inhabit. And he did it purely deceptively, in a way that really did lure that desire that Lönnrot had. It really lured him.
And he couldn't have done it if Lönnrot hadn't had that desire to kind of figure everything out in a way that was satisfying to his vanity as a reasoning machine.
And it just tickles me in the Borgesian way that Sherlock did create an underlying order.
Yeah.
Like, he really did create a conspiracy that was, and that's why he starts off by saying, let's give Lönnrot some credit. He didn't catch the murderer, but he did anticipate what was happening, right? He says he didn't succeed in preventing the last crime, but he did indisputably foresee it. Nor did he divine the identity of Yarmolinsky's unlucky murder, but he did perceive the evil series' secret shape and the part played in it by Red Sherlock. So the irony here is like, yeah, he was deceived by the demon Sherlock, the dandy. But
do you think the narrator there is being somewhat sarcastic because he didn't perceive the part played in it by Red Sherlock? He didn't even know that Red Sherlock was part of the plot at all, right?
Yeah, he didn't divine the identity. What does he mean then? Because it doesn't read sarcastic to me.
Did perceive the evil series' secret shape. That's true. And the part played in it by Red Sherlock is just false. But you're right.
Yeah. So I think maybe saying like, not that he knew that Sherlock did it, but he knew that somebody was creating 4 murders in this pattern.
But he never suspected Sherlock as being part of it.
No,
Yeah.
but I think you can read that as saying the part that Sherlock played, that of somebody masterminding right? So it didn't get the identity that it was Sherlock who did it, but he did perceive that there was an agent that was doing this. And yeah, so on the one hand, it's deception. On the other hand, it's the actual creation of a new world.
Yeah.
It is the Matrix in that way. Like it's,
Yeah.
He wants to go back into the Matrix, and that's what he's asking at the end. Next time we do this, can you put me in an even better Matrix? Like,
and I agree with you that even though Sherlock hates Lönnrot and has been conceived of this revenge and dedicated his life to it in his delirium, he does respect Lönnrot enough to try to give him a way of going out that will. It's like letting the chickens be free range before you kill them. Let them like thrive and flourish in their natural environment before you cut off their heads.
Right. Then very carefully he fired.
Yeah.
I love that too. Like he was being very patterned, even though he was a man who lived in the messy world of crime. And this whole thing started with a bungled robbery that he had to clean up. He created order out of that chaos for Lönnrot.
Yeah.
And it was, it's not all altruistic. Like it was a good way of trapping him. It was a villainous way of trapping him, but he didn't need to. He didn't need that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very optimistic reading, but I think it's nice to think of it that way. One thing I was thinking, as reading all these stories, Borges, I think, is very self-critical. He has a lot of these protagonists like Lönnrot who are like him, kind of solitary, obsessed with puzzles and labyrinths and infinity. their obsession with all these systems and theories and puzzles and grand explanations, like it not only affects their, whatever is going on in the story, but you get the sense that it's not good for their social life. They don't seem like they interact
Right.
with other people. They're just focused on whatever puzzle or, system they're trying to decipher. And so there is this idea that if you live in this world of idealizations and abstractions and systems, like, what does that do to your just human characteristic? What kind of a life does Lönnrot have? Like this, again, it's true of a lot of Borges protagonists. Yeah. It's like they don't live in the world. They live half in the world and half in their ideas and conspiracies and philosophies.
Yeah, totally. It is this theme. Borges always has this tension between loving the systematizing and loving the finding
the chase.
Order in this. Yeah, he loves all this stuff, like the math of infinity, the math of the world. And yet he constantly is also making the point that reality is like unknowable and unknowably like messy or complex. And his protagonists who are obsessed with the order lose themselves in their obsessions, right? It's like in so many of the stories we read, they're about people who have this singular obsession that actually, like you said, takes them out of the world.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think Borges is that kind of a person.
Yeah.
It's like in a very meta way. It's so like there's so much to even think about. Like earlier when you were talking about teaching this and your students, talking with 14 other people about this and students coming up with interpretations, which just sounds amazing.
God.
So think about that, where what we're doing and what your students are doing, we are the Lönnrots of the world. But just by doing this,
Totally.
like he is sucking us into being Lönnrots and finding
100%.
These nuggets. He is, in some ways, Sherlock for us. And I welcome the distraction.
Exactly.
I welcome the demon giving me like a...
I'll take the bullet in the head and I want to keep doing it. No, absolutely, right? We're always trying to puzzle out a Borges story, but I remember something that Phil Ford said in the Weird Studies segment where there is all weird fiction, there's always a remainder. There's always something that doesn't fully fit, and we won't accept that, and we try.
The 99 is unacceptable.
Right, the 99 is unacceptable. It has to be 100. Like even my evil demon theory is trying to like match, Sherlock to some philosophical concept and Lönnrot to Descartes, and can do that, and it's fun to do that, and it's good. I think Borges, like you said, there's this constant tension. The problem is when you think you can solve it, when you think you're going to get to the end of the labyrinth.
Don't confuse the map for the territory, right? Like we have these models and we build these models and we love doing it. We're building models of what Borges is trying to say, but never have the confidence that Lönnrot has because the world will always surprise you with an uneven number, right? Yeah. Or with a remainder, like Phil says.
Yeah.
Do you know the word pareidolia?
No.
It means the tendency to impose meaningful interpretation on like nebulous stuff. And so like people talk about this as the overseeing of patterns, and it's associated with particular kinds of, schizophrenics like do that a lot. But the thing is, like, it's like a hyper presence of a normal human trait. Like we all need to find order. Like we can't live without order of some sort. Yeah. But that's why I love Borges' protagonists. They're just warnings. They're showing like don't get too caught up in it.
But at the same time, they're making us get caught up in it.
Yeah, I know.
They're luring us into it.
We're also the Sherlocks for our listeners in some way. We're luring them.
This is all part of a grand revenge conspiracy against our listeners. This was fun. I love this story. So back to the first question.
Back to the ranking. God, man, it's so painful to even think about moving. I want to move it up, but what do I take out?
Yeah. I also love the Aleph. I also love Pierre Menard.
I might put it above Menard. So it might make it into
your Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
The only one I can say that I absolutely think is a better story is Toulon Ukbar.
Yeah, that's such a masterpiece.
a stone cold masterpiece.
I know.
There's so much in there. It's crazy.
And you really, like, Borges has really influenced so many people. And what I love is, I was talking to you offline about Umberto Eco and his books, The Name of the Rose and Foucault's Pendulum, that are clearly so indebted to, I think, this story in particular, but Borges in general. Like, and I always think, like, these people, like Umberto Eco is, to me, cool and interesting. But what Borges does in like 5 pages takes this guy like 400 pages.
Yeah.
There is an elegance to the way that Borges presents ideas that stick with you. I think about fucking Funes the Memorious all the time. I think about Pierre Menard all the time. Like, they just stick with you. And all he had to do was give us these little 5-page stories.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'll be back to this golden goose for more eggs at some point soon. Thanks for listening. Join us next time on Very Bad Wizards.
The great boss has spoken. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
Who are you? Who are you? A very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Good man. They think deep thoughts, and with no more brains than you have. Pay no attention to that man. Anybody can have a brain.
You're a very bad man.
I'm a very good man. Just a very bad wizard.